Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another exciting and inspiring episode of On Location with Zara Durrani. Today, we're here in the heart of Kitsilano at the beautiful vegan restaurant Folk. We happen to be filming on their day off, so make sure to come by, say hello. If you're watching our show, let them know you saw and heard about Folk through our show. Joining me now is someone who I find truly inspiring. I've had the opportunity to have a chat with him through my social media. We went live and I was really fascinated with the work he's doing in healing individuals. He's been in the health and performance industry for over 20 years. After his first 3 years of graduating, he worked with over 10,000 individuals in the US. What a remarkable number. I'm talking about the founder of the Neuro Lounge. She's a holistic chiropractor and none other than Dr. Tomek Pajak. I want to make sure I'm not butchering your name.
You got it.
I got it right. We were practicing before we started rolling here. Thank you so much for joining, and I love the work you're doing with the Neuro Lounge downtown in Yaletown in Vancouver. So tell us about the inspiration behind starting Neuro Lounge.
Sure. So the inspiration started about 8 years ago when I was at a pretty low point in my life, actually. I've been a chiropractor now for 18 years. And about 8 years ago, I started having all this chronic neck and shoulder pain. And I couldn't figure it out. It almost took me 3 years of trial and error, going to dozens of different doctors. I think I spent over $100,000 going to all these different practitioners. Eventually, I went to a practitioner who really transformed my life. I called it my perspective shift moment. Some of the stuff he taught me is basically exactly what I offer now at the Neuro Lounge, where we combine technologies with holistic practices centered around the nervous system and the energy in the body.
So for those individuals out there who are like energy, or they're afraid of anything that is like woo-woo, tell us a bit about that, because, as a yoga teacher, as someone who's into alternate healing practices, that's something that is totally my jam. But for those out there who may question what you're doing, can you dig a bit deeper?
Absolutely, yeah. So I didn't grow up knowing anything about energy. I didn't learn anything about energy in school. I, like most people, was pretty skeptical of anything that I couldn't, feel, touch, and see. But what I've learned over the last 8 years is really that everything is energy. And energy is, some people think of energy as just like, people talk about like auras and chakras coming off people. What I've learned in the last few years is that energy is actually like the organizing force that influences the body more than anything. So my journey started with the nervous system. I used to think the nervous system was like the master control system of the body and of everything. But what I've learned is the nervous system is kind of like the interface between the energy systems. And the science is there. Quantum physics is really catching up and validating a lot of these principles of how energy works, how you can heal someone technically without even touching them.
So what's happening at Neuro Lounge now? Because you have several different rooms, and I've been there a couple of times. We did some heart rate monitoring, which was a concept I first heard of when I was reading Joe Dispenza's book, Becoming Supernatural. And I remember being like, oh my goodness, I would love to see where I'm at. What is my heart rate like? So we did that when we came in. Tell us about that, and what can people learn about their bodies, about their nervous system, about their energy, and where they're at.
Absolutely. So yeah, one of the foundational assessments that we do is a comprehensive heart rate variability assessment. And there's a lot of science behind how important heart rate variability is. The way I think of it is like almost like a fingerprint of your nervous system, what's going on with you at that time. And because the main thing that is causing a lot of people's problems, what I've found is stress. And my definition of stress is anything that pushes you past your capacity to self-regulate, because we're self-regulating, self-organizing organisms, but anything that pushes you past that, I call it the neurological bandwidth or capacity. Anything that pushes you past that is going to start causing disruption and disharmony within your body, within your heart, within your hormones, within your digestion, within your brain waves. All these things can actually be measured, and heart rate variability is one of the tools that I find has the most research behind. And our program combines the Western metrics behind heart rate variability, but also some traditional Chinese metrics. So we can get information about your hormones, about your brain waves, and even your meridians and how your body's doing. So
Wow.
that's kind of the foundational assessment tool that we use.
That's truly inspiring. Now, whenever someone comes on the show, I always ask them what inspired them to get into the field that they're in now and become sort of a leader in the field. And I see you as someone, we're downtown Vancouver, we have bars and clubs and restaurants and all this, and then on Richard Street there's the Neuro Lounge, and I was always curious, okay, what's happening here at the Neuro Lounge, like what made you go, I want to become a chiropractor, and then studying down this path? Of course, like 8 years ago you started to shift things, but this seems to be a bigger calling because you're wanting to help heal people.
Absolutely, yeah. So I originally wanted to get into chiropractic. It wasn't any big inspirational story or anything, but it was started from the grade 11 actually. I remember actually having to do a career project where in our high school we had to we did like a self-assessment, and then they gave us a list of all these possible careers to look into. And I remember chiropractor and pilot came up, and those are the two ones that I was like most interested in. And back then I was really into sports. I played basketball, and my high school basketball coach actually was good friends with the local chiropractor. And so he actually referred me there when I had a shoulder injury, and I was just amazed by the approach that he had. And he was very, he played soccer for Team Canada. He went to SFU, played soccer. He was very athletic, and I was inspired by him at that time. And so I got into chiropractic more from the sports kind of medicine, sports injury perspective. And then 8 years ago, like I said, I was at a really low place in my life. It was, not only did I have chronic neck and shoulder pain, but my lifestyle was actually really, really bad. I was living in Yaletown, and like you said, all the bars, and I was really caught up in that lifestyle. And I didn't realize until I started working with the nervous system and working with my energy and self-awareness that lifestyle was one of the culprits to really kind of derailing my life. And I was pretty low points, everything from relationships wise to health wise to financially. The lifestyle I was in was really, really negative. So when I started to work with the nervous system, work with energy, I remember actually just feeling like emotions clearing from my body. I remember crying after a session, which for me, I hadn't cried in probably over 10 years.
Wow.
And so I just got inspired by that, and then I started sharing it with some friends, some clients, and that really inspired me to open the Neuro Lounge, because I had a more of a traditional chiropractic practice in Maple Ridge, and I was living in Vancouver, and I just really thought that the community needed it. I saw so many stressed people, so many people going down the same path that I was going. So that's what really motivated me to open the Neuro Lounge.
Thank you so much for sharing so openly, because I think a lot of individuals do need to hear that story. And we had a therapist in before, and I love sharing, personal stories as well. So talking about the Neuro Lounge, you have, the brain tapping, the brain tap meditation, which was, I remember, the last thing that I did when I was there. And it was about 30 minutes long. I believe I did that while I was in one of your infrared or your red light therapy.
Pulse electromagnetic field therapy,
yes,
with heated infrared crystals. Yeah.
Oh my.
Yeah.
And I had an emotional release. I cry really easily, but it's quite often I talk about this, that having the energy output. We were having this conversation when we ran into each other because we're neighbors. You know, you're emceeing, presenting on camera. I love, 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 love my work, but also taking time to quiet and replenish myself. I need that a lot. You know, so I can show up as my best self and give my 100% when we're filming, when I'm on a stage, when I'm with an audience. And when I came to Neuro Lounge that time, it was exactly what I needed. And I remember my mascara was just like running, but I knew my body just felt so much more relaxed afterwards. It was almost like I was tight without knowing my body was so tense and tight. And it's like going from this to just like, ooh, this like release happening.
Yeah, so I the way I think of it in a really easy way to understand is it's kind of like recharging your battery. And so, you know, we are energy beings, and everything requires energy. You know, good things are good, you know, work tasks are, you know, the ones that we don't like, the ones we do like, they all require energy. And when you surpass your capacity within your body, you're going to go into those defense, I call them defense strategies, you know, things like fight or flight response, things like on a cellular level, there's something called the cell danger response. And so those defenses only happen when you've surpassed your own capacity. So having, you know, technologies and tools that we offer at the Neuro Lounge is like a reset or a recharge of your internal battery. And I think everybody needs it.
I feel like after a day like today, it's certainly like a marathon day today because I'm working on this show as well as a documentary. Like I feel so grateful, like so much gratitude. Yet at the same time, I am so cognizant of the fact that I'm going to need to making sure there's snacks, hydration. Yesterday I spent several hours on the beach and I knew I needed to jump into the ocean, into the water, have that salt water around me, and intentionally, like, you know, this is me getting into my woo-woo, but like releasing the energy of the days, the weeks, and welcoming in. You know, I saw you while I was filming the other interview, you just standing in the sun, and I'm like, okay, that looks so lovely right now. And I feel like from all my interactions with you, you have a very calm aura about you. So what does your personal self-care routine look like?
Yeah, so my self-care routine does vary. I mean, there's been times where it was 3-4 hours a day, but when it comes to, you know, touching on the technology that you were mentioning with the brain tap light and sound therapy, now most people understand and know that meditation is good for them. You know, meditation, I think of meditation as just like fitness for the mind. And there's lots of different types of meditations, just like there's lots of other types of fitness. But for me personally, when I first got into it, I wasn't really experiencing many benefits. And the reason was because my brain was so stuck in like a stress state. We call that beta brainwave. And to get into a meditative state, your brainwaves have to slow down significantly, and they go into what we call alpha and theta. And a lot of people can't do that naturally. It can take years or sometimes even decades of practice with brain tap using the light and sound frequencies and combining it with the frequencies that we do in the mat. I find like 70% of people get into that theta state within their first session, which is very rare. So my self-care routine uses the brain tap light and sound therapy with the PMF mat because I'm a big believer that we can thrive in nature, and I believe nature is healing, but living in a city with all the demands, and, you know, lately I've been making an effort to actually, like I said, I was get out on the beach, walk with my bare feet, and, you know, do some stretching, get in the saltwater ocean, like you said. But, you know, a lot of people, and myself included, weren't doing that, and I wasn't doing that for years. So there are technologies that can facilitate and help with that. And so I find it can just save you some time too, because you know, meditating can. Some people, even experienced meditators, can take them like an hour to get into that state. Whereas with the light and sound frequencies, you know, you can get into it within 10-15 minutes, and most of our sessions are 22 minutes. So that's a big component. Another big part of my self-care routine is something called red light therapy, which again is also a natural, coming from nature. The sun actually gives off red light, especially in the sunrises and sunsets. And so people who are getting sunrises and sunsets regularly, they find that they just have so many health benefits. But again, living in...
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I think that's, I live quite high. So one of the things that I'm affected, I'm warmer skin tone, coming from a warm country, moving to Canada and not getting as much sun as my home country, Pakistan. I realized for me, I need to live in a place where I can see mountains, I can get lots of light. So I'm so fortunate I get to see sunset every day.
Wow.
And I didn't know that, and I know in summertime it's amplified because that golden hour lighting, it's magical.
Yeah, I mean, the recent science is saying we literally have like light receptors inside of our body. So they're saying light is actually like a nutrient. So
that's truly amazing. And I didn't know about the red light and how it's now I will consciously take time to sit there. And there's something truly healing about watching a sun set. It's magical.
Absolutely, yeah. And so red light therapy mimics those wavelengths of light. And so we have that at the Neuro Lounge, and we also sell home units. So especially in the winter, it's really important.
No way.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Okay. So I want to talk a little bit about you being a holistic chiropractor, because before coming to see you, my experience of going to see a chiropractor was someone jumping on me. No joke, this happened. And given it did make me feel good, but I was also very nervous. And they're like, okay, take a deep breath in. Pop, snack, crackle, however you want to call it. And all these sounds from my neck and my body, and they're twisting my body. And it's just like, okay, this jump up, down, this neck, on top, like everywhere. And then, okay, you're done. And you're a little bit like, what happened? Like, could this hurt me? Like, what's going on? That's what I imagine when I imagine a chiropractor. But you don't work like that. So tell us about your approach.
Yeah, and so I used to do that, what you experienced, and I've had that done on me for years. And I do believe there's a time and a place for that. However, what I've learned and what I've experienced and what I've seen with a lot of my clients is when stress, and particularly emotional stress, starts to build up in our body, some of the more subtle approaches, working more with the reflexes with the nervous system and working more with how the energy is coordinating through the nervous system, can help release that. So personally, I actually haven't had one of those manual therapy adjustments in over 7 years.
Wow.
And I find that my mobility, my posture, all those things have improved with the more subtle, and I would say it's a bit more precise in the assessments. 90% of what I'm doing now is assessments that I wasn't actually taught in chiropractic school. They're looking at very subtle imbalances within, you notice I was checking your feet a lot. There's reflexes in the feet. And we checked how you're breathing and correlate that all with the nervous system. So the approach that I do is called network spinal. And it's still, the goal is to improve the spine health as much as possible, which means improve the posture, improve the flexibility, and improve the self-awareness within the spine. But how it's performed is we're not forcing the spine to do anything. We're teaching the spine. So those little points that I'm touching, they're like cue points. They're trying to teach your brain to reassess and change how it's experiencing and how it's working with your body.
That's fascinating. I remember standing up taller because I know one of the things that is chronic for me is neck pain. It's a bit better now, I feel like, since I'm teaching yoga, because I'm also practicing with them, and I'm going to classes again regularly, along with my weight training and hiking and whatnot. But it's certainly like this element. And I remember after a session, I was quite surprised. Like, my posture was just taller. And I think you went a little bit like here or something. Like, it wasn't even like I'm open to trying, of course, new things, but I was not sure that, okay, what's going to happen here. And it was really fascinating how my body responded. And you were telling me what's happening as you were doing that.
Yeah, so like I said, there's a lot of things that the body's doing subtly that we're not aware of until we start really looking for it. And so the techniques that I've learned through my mentors, who they're really, you know, the brilliant minds behind this, because I'm the same way as you. Like my chiropractor that did this to me, he literally just like poked me in the butt a few times, and then my shoulder pain of 3 years went away. And I'm like, okay, well, what did you just do?
Yeah.
And so he didn't even touch my shoulder, whereas most of the practitioners, you know, were like injecting my shoulder, massaging my shoulder, adjusting my shoulder. But he worked more with the subtle kind of framework of the nervous system and the energy in my body. And by freeing that and reorganizing that, it changed not only my shoulder, but it changed my whole life.
I feel like everyone should know about this. This is truly amazing. So what would you say are some of the top things you're assisting your clients with? Like, would you say it's chronic pain, you know, issues similar to what you've dealt with, more on the emotional side, or a combination?
It's definitely a combination. I have a wide range of clients. A lot of my clients were originally coming in for chronic pain, things like anxiety, other stress disorders. One thing I noticed, and one thing we're focusing on right now, is tinnitus, or ringing in the ears, because I started to notice that a lot of my clients who were struggling with chronic pain and all this extra stress, and they had really low scores on that test that we were doing, they actually also had tinnitus. And as we started to work together and improve their scores, improve their nervous system, their tinnitus started going away. And so I've started posting a little bit about tinnitus, and a lot of people are suffering with it. And a lot of people are told by their doctors that there is no cure or there is no solution. And I've literally, like, probably had 50 people have their tinnitus completely resolved just with what we're doing. And again, it's not like a treatment for tinnitus, it's a treatment to optimize the nervous system and just optimize the energy in the body.
Other than coming to you and coming to Neuro Lounge, what else can individuals do perhaps at home to improve their nervous system?
Yeah, so meditation, breath work, and really getting out in nature. So, you know, getting that sun exposure, early and evening sun exposure without burning, obviously. And then, like, I'm a big fan of actual grounding, like actually, you know, taking your shoes off, getting on the earth, because there is science behind that as well, how it's almost like a discharge of energy, of positive and negative ions discharging through your body to the earth, which is essential. And, you know, with most people living in these high rises and always wearing shoes, and we actually block that. And if you go too long without it, it can definitely create inflammation and create a lot of issues. So those are kind of my top three.
And I noticed through your website as well as your social media that you also do like group work, like because I feel like a lot of the things that you're mentioning, I would love to attend like a workshop or seminar or something like that, where we can learn in a setting and talk about, you know, because there's something really beautiful when people come together, and a lot of times we can feel like, oh, I'm the only one who's dealing with this, or I'm the only entrepreneur or person who's an artist who's like dealing with this issue, whether it's emotional, physical, or whatnot. So can you tell us a bit about these workshops that you're doing? Because you do them online, or are there any in person as well?
Yeah, I do. So I do two types of workshops right now. So, and I definitely think healing in groups is very powerful. And the more people that are aligned and in the same kind of, I call it a state, but it's again, it's like the woo-woo word is the same energy. you can really get huge shifts and huge transformation. So one I do in office, which we do have a capacity of only 8 people, and we call it the brain body reset, where I do hands-on energy work and we combine it with the brain tap light and sound therapy, and we do 2 rounds of that and incorporate something called somato-respiratory integration, which is like a special type of breath work with special movements. And
How often do you do it? That sounds amazing.
Usually
I want to try this.
Usually once a month.
Okay.
The next one's coming up in 2 weeks. And then the thing that I'm doing online now, which is new, is, and this is going to get really woo-woo, is actually a remote group healing. And so one of my mentors, she wrote the book Energy Codes, her name's Dr. Sue Mortar. She teaches courses, and she taught me a remote healing course. And what I've learned is, and through quantum physics, if you can heal someone energetically in person, you can absolutely heal them remotely, where they're not even in the same room, because the quantum physics and the non-locality aspect of that shows that particles and frequencies can change, and they're connected no matter where they are in the universe, technically. So that's something that I'm going to start doing actually weekly, and it's going to be by donation and just getting as many people as we can into this healing state.
That's truly beautiful. So very service mindset oriented, like wanting to give back to the community. So I know we've talked about this already, but it's a lot of you giving out and helping other individuals. Do you take breaks for a bit longer periods of time to replenish your self-care, or perhaps the work that you're doing fills you up so much that you actually don't need to do that?
Yeah, I'll be honest. So since I started the Neuro Lounge over 4 years ago, I haven't had more than 2 days off, actually, or 3 days off. And that was actually, I went for a workshop, for a training. But
So not really off.
well, one thing I love to do, and I actually just got into in the last few years, is surfing.
Okay.
So a lot of the trainings that I do have been in California, and so I started taking surf lessons. And when I go there, and I just love it. It's a big recharge, and just being out in nature and feeling that energy. It's something that I definitely want to do more of. But what I've learned, and what I've also learned from my mentors, is you can, every time I work on someone, I'm actually getting into a state that is healing my body and connecting me to a higher energy as well. So I know in the past, before I learned these strategies, it would feel draining to work on someone because it was all my own energy going into it. But what I've learned is there's this like unlimited source of energy that you can tap into, which again sounds woo-woo, but when you start to feel it and experience it, you absolutely know it's real. And it's amazing. Like I can work a full day. And one other thing that I'm into is music and DJing. And so I've been spending a lot of time, even after a long work day, like DJing and making music. So I do think when you can master energy and learn how to be efficient with it, you can be limitless.
Completely. And I relate so much to what you're saying about working with individuals, because that's what it was like for me when I was teaching yoga almost a decade ago to versus now. And I noticed I was really trying to push for people to have a certain experience, to have a release, to let go in class, versus now, I'm coming in with the intention that yes, whatever's going to happen is going to happen, yet I'm just going to be here and allow things and energies to flow. And it's really fascinating because I've only taught 3 classes now. The feedback I'm getting, because it's beyond words. So I can truly relate to what you're saying, and I really feel like I need to come back for a session soon because I could need all the replenishment as possible. And so where can we find information for the online by donation healing that you'll be doing?
Yeah, so that'll be posted on Instagram at the Neuro Lounge.
Okay.
And you can also follow me at Dr. Tomek.
We'll share that information. No worries.
But yeah, at the Neuro Lounge.
So just on social media platforms. Okay.
Perfect.
Well, really appreciate you joining us today, and I'm a fan of the work that you're doing, and also the energy and the passion with which you do it. because we can really feel that you're truly passionate about helping others, serving others. And I'm inspired to get to know you. And I'm so glad that I stopped you that time. We met because I'd seen Dr. Tomek. I always mess up your name. I always say Tomek or something. Did I mess it up right now as well? I did. Okay.
Tomek.
Tomek. See, I did that
But like I
again.
said, you're actually saying it the traditional Polish way, so that's actually the right way. But most people call me Tomek.
Okay, got it. Tomek. I saw you with your dog, and then I was like, wait a second, I think I've seen his picture on poster, and I would see you in Yaletown around in our neighborhood a lot. And I had to say hello, and I feel like a lot of the things that happen on our show are energetically, synchronistically like that, where I just meet people that happen to be the right people, and it's the right conversation, and beautiful things blossom. I truly appreciate you taking the time to come out today. I know you have to get back to your practice. We'll share information on how you can get in touch with Dr. Tomek.
You got it. Well, thank you so much for having me. I really had a good time.
My pleasure. Until next time, I'm your host, Zara Durrani. You're watching On Location with Zara, produced with the support of Telestory Hive. We'll share Dr. Tomek's information so you can get in touch with him. If you found this episode inspiring, please do let us know. Until next time, I'm Zara Durrani. Thank you.